Hello everyone and welcome to Newell's Backyard Garage. Today I'm going to show you how to find an air conditioning leak on your vehicle. We are going to be taking a look at this 1997 Subaru Outback. I already know this vehicle has a leak, but I will show you how to determine if yours does too. After that, we will take a look at this 2007 Chrysler Sebring and see what a good charged air conditioning system looks like. Stay tuned. Alright, in order to test the system, we are going to use an AC pressure gauge. We have the low side here in blue and the high side here in red. So you want to make sure these valves are closed. You take your low side, you find your low side on your car, right here. Push this in, pull up on it, make sure it's tight, and then you find your high side port, which is right here. These ports are different sizes, so each of these will only go in one way. Pull up on it, make sure it's on there. Now, what you should immediately see on your gauge is the outside temperature on both of these gauges. Now it's about 80 degrees out right now, so if this were charged correctly, the needle would be right up here, right here, and on this one it would be right about here. But as you can see, that one's at 0, that one's basically at 0. So we have a leak. I just filled this a few days ago, and it didn't work. So we're going to use pressurized air to test for a leak. Now if you do this, you're going to want to replace your air dryer, which is right here. This varies on some cars, but basically anytime you crack open the AC system, you have to replace your air dryer. We're not going to do this in that video. This is just a check. But if your AC is leaking, then you basically already need a new dryer anyway, because your whole air conditioning system has been opened up to the elements. So, if anyone thinks that this is going to ruin their air dryer, it's already ruined. You have to replace it. Next thing we're going to do, which I've already done here, we're going to hook up an air line to the yellow, and this runs all the way back here to my compressor. Next thing we're going to do is plug the compressor in and fill her up with air. Now mine doesn't fit quite right, so we're going to have a little bit of an air leak, but I don't care because it still pressurizes. Now we are going to turn this knob right here on the low side, which will let the air in. We will also open the valve down here. As you can see, we are now pressurizing the low side of the AC system. Currently the gauge reads about 70 psi, but that is too low for my liking. I'll open the valve a bit more to see if the pressure goes up. It doesn't. Now, I need to turn my air compressor on. I wanted the pressure to be around 100 psi, but it is only at 70. Once the system reaches about 100 psi, we will close the valve and check for leaks. Now the pressure is where we want it, so I'll close the valve. Alright, so looking at the gauge, we set the pressure to about 100 psi and it has already lost about 5 pounds, so we know we have a leak. The AC system has a bunch of different parts. There's O-rings and hoses, the condenser, an evaporator, a compressor, and an air dryer. This method will not check the evaporator behind the dashboard or the seals in the compressor. If you cannot find the leak with this method, more than likely the issue is in one of these two parts, and I suggest taking the car to your local mechanic or buying a refrigerant sniffer. I'm going to demonstrate how to check parts with this open water method. Starting at the compressor, we have an O-ring in here, a hose that goes all the way around into the cabin of the vehicle. which is over here. Right there. It then comes out from the same location down in here into the air dryer. Right here. There are also two O-rings in these two hose connections up top. The hose then goes to the condenser, which is down in here. We're going to spray this along with the whole condenser. After it goes through the condenser, it comes out over here, down here, and goes back into the compressor. And that is the complete system. Now, let's check all of these parts for leaks with the soap and water. We'll spray down in here at the condenser first. Take a look. No leaks. Now let's spray where it goes into the condenser right here. Nothing. Now, I'm going to go around and spray the left side of the condenser, which is once again down in here. No leaks, once again. Now we're just going to spray the whole condenser. You can't really see it on camera, but I thoroughly look and there are no leaks. So once I'm done spraying this, we're going to move over to the dryer. Be careful not to spray the connector like I just did. There are no leaks though. So now we'll check the entry points to the cabin of the car, and once again, no leaks. That leaves one place. We're going to come back to the compressor, and we're going to check this O-ring down in here. But I already know what's leaking from there. That's why we're doing it last. Alright, let's spray it. And check this out. Look at all those bubbles. There's definitely a large leak here. So now that we finally found it, we're just going to take a look at this O-ring, and we're going to replace it. And then I'll double check the system and replace the air dryer, and then we'll be good to go. Now we're going to take a look at a car that has a good AC system. The low side hose is now connected to the Sebring. I couldn't get the high pressure fitting on, so you'll have to take my word for it. It's going to read 0. On the low pressure side, the pressure is about 80 psi, which coincides with the outdoor temperature right now. If the readings on your car aren't around 0, like on this vehicle, do not add refrigerant. More than likely you have a blockage in the AC system. This can be caused by clogs in hoses, the evaporator, the condenser. It could be caused by the orifice or the thermal expansion valves, depending on which one you have. So if you add pressure and refrigerant to the system, you will overcharge it and create more problems than you already have. This is the reason we are checking the pressure of the system before we do anything to the AC system. We're not going to charge it. We're not going to discharge it. We're not going to do anything until we confirm that there is a leak. Now I'm going to go into the car and I'm going to start it up, and we're going to take a look at what the low side pressure is of the car when the AC is properly functioning. So let's turn it on, turn it to recirculate, and we'll go out here and take a look at the pressure reading. The reading is starting to drop on the low side gauge. It's not fully stable yet, but there is ample amount of pressure in the system while it's running. If you have a blockage, one pressure will be very high and the other will be very low. If I had this high pressure side hooked up, you'd be able to see it, but it says 0, so that doesn't really help us. Either way, this is a properly charged system. The low pressure side is good. We don't have any issues. Once again, the high pressure side is at 0. The low is at about 50 and dropping. Little bonus footage here. I got the line off, and I'm going to replace this O-ring in here and hope that it helps my problem. Alright, I just got the new O-ring in. We're going to spray this. No leaks. Now we're going to see if the AC system holds pressure. Alright, we're back to our gauge a few minutes later, and it is now holding pressure. I haven't lost any AC, which means I can take this car to get refrigerant put in it, and it should hopefully hold up. And that is how you find air conditioning leaks in your vehicle. Thank you very much for watching.